The story begins with humanity, fragile and bound by the limits of their short life spans waging war against the immortals, beings untouched by death. This brutal conflict known as the Immortal War tore the world apart, escalating to an ultimate showdown, and at the peak of it all the fate of the world hung in a battle between just two men, Graham the hero and Veltol the Demon Lord. Their clash was nothing short of legendary. Veltol's power was unmatched, his very presence radiating an aura of invincibility, but despite the Demon Lord's might the battle came to a stunning conclusion with one final incredible strike from Graham. As Veltol lay defeated he acknowledged Graham's power, impressed that a mere mortal could best him. The two warriors shared a moment of mutual respect, yet Veltol's disbelief lingered. He was the Demon Lord superior in every way to the frail humans. His strategy, his military prowess, his power, how could they have defeated him? Graham's answer was simple: life. He explained that the very weakness of humans, their fleeting lives, is what drives them to fight so fiercely. Their mortality makes them strong, pushing them to survive against all odds. Veltol refused to accept this, but before fading away, he left Graham with a chilling warning. Wherever there is light, darkness will follow. As long as darkness exists, I will return time and time again. I am the invincible king. And with that, Veltol's body faded into nothingness, bidding farewell to his greatest rival, while Graham parted ways with his most hated foe. But that was just the beginning. Sometime later, Veltol awakens, finding himself created by Machina, a mysterious girl who had waited 500 years for this very moment. So she apologizes for the modest welcome. The Veltol simply relieved that his reincarnation was uninterrupted and he's ready to resume his mission of conquering the nation of Alniath. But Machina has news. The nation he once sought to dominate is gone, and so she explains that 80 years ago the world of Alniath and the world Earth collided after a catastrophic event merging into one. The collision of these two dimensions devastated both, wiping out 90% of the population in the first year, and so nations divided, cities waged war, and chaos spread. Earth had advanced technology, while Alniath had magic, confused civilization, and together these two forces created a new world of unimaginable advancement. It's now 2099 and Veltol is stunned, struggling to process this unfamiliar world around him. As they walk through the city, a large dude ogre bumps into Machina without a second glance. Veltol is furious. How could these mortals not know who she is? She's a high-ranking officer in his army. Deciding to teach them a lesson, he calls on the secret art of chantless magic, sending an attack into the sky. But instead of awe, this city looks with irritation, and so Machina panics, explaining that grand magic is forbidden here, and they need to leave before the guards show up. As they flee Machina, it reveals more about the state of the world. After the Fantasia, immortals scattered, and the humans took this as a sign of weakness, launching a ruthless campaign to hunt them down. Anti-immortal weapon was developed, and immortals became targeted for elimination. Veltol, who's understandably pretty shaken by all the information, is still focused enough to ask about his elite 6 commanders. And so Machina explains that most of them are unaccounted for. One even sacrificed himself to protect her, knowing she held the key to reincarnating Veltol. Machina thinks the Demon Lord looks kind of thirsty, so she rushes off to get him something to drink, and Veltol notices strange floating orbs coalescing around a young girl nearby. This girl uses the orbs to broadcast a vulgar scene on the city screens, and so Veltol approaches her and accuses her of causing it. She denies it, but he calmly reveals that he saw the ether around her. The girl, clearly shocked, stares at him. He shouldn't be able to see it. She looks them over, then asks, "Who are you?" Without hesitation, Veltol replies, "I am the Demon Lord." She laughs, clearly not taking him seriously, and him ignoring her reaction, just asked her how she altered the broadcast. She explains it's either hacking, and she starts rattling off details he doesn't really understand. So he stops her and asks if she knows someone named Marcus. The girl assumes he's talking about a well-known CEO and directs him to Marcus's company. Veltol strolls into this building like a boss, and he orders the receptionist to announce his arrival. And so moments later, Marcus's secretary Kinohara appears and leads him down the hall. Veltol spots a peculiar little creature repeatedly appearing in various places, and Kinohara explains almost proudly that it's the company's mascot. Finally, Veltol meets Marcus, and without hesitation he reminds them that it's disrespectful to remain seated in the presence of the King of Darkness. Marcus just looks at him and asks, "Why are you here?" Veltol feels insulted. He expected Marcus to celebrate his resurrection. So he tells him he's here to rebuild the immortal kingdom and reclaim his rule, but Marcus just laughs right in his face while refusing to help, and he doesn't even address Veltol as his king. Veltol, who's obviously irritated, moves to teach him a lesson, but Kinohara suddenly intercepts his attack, surprising Veltol by wielding armament forging magic. Marcus tells Kinohara to stand down and looks Veltol straight in the eye, telling him that he's growing weak, that a wound like the one he just received would have closed instantly if he were still in his prime, and so he laughs, saying that it's absurd for Veltol to think he could conquer anything when his empire has been lost to oblivion. He refuses to bow down to a weakling and even sues Veltol away like he's nothing, and then, as if that wasn't bad enough, Marcus adds that he might reconsider, but only if Veltol grovels on the ground. Veltol quickly reminds him that he can never defeat him in a fight, but when he moved to teach Marcus a lesson, he's stunned as Marcus uses Spellbreaker, destroying his attack instantly. Veltol, the king of chantless magic, is left powerless by a man with no magic talent at all, and Marcus, deciding to be generous, reveals a strange device on the back of his neck. It's the fruit of mankind's wisdom, a magic gadget called Familia. He explains that activating magic requires 4 steps, but with the Familia implant 3 of them can be skipped. It's practically a cheat code, letting people use magic by simply making a selection and saying a word, and anyone can use it. No need for incantations or complex rituals, but Marcus adds he's specifically designed it so that higher beings like Veltol could never use it. He anticipated Veltol's return and made sure that no matter what, Veltol wouldn't gain the upper hand. Veltol tries to attack again, but Marcus just breaks the spell and then explains it in this world Familia is a necessity. Without one, or person is just too slow. Marcus goes on, revealing that he never actually liked Veltol. Sure, he'd sworn loyalty to him, but he found Veltol tyrannical, arrogant, always better than him in every way. He grew tired of living in Veltol's shadow, but Veltol never even noticed. And with that, Marcus decides it's time for Veltol to leave. He summons his blood sword, sending daggers into Veltol's chest, launching them out of a window, and while Vito's in the air, Marcus finishes the job, detonating the daggers, declaring that the Demon Lord is finally dead, and now Marcus says he is the new Demon Lord. Meanwhile, we see Veltol somehow still alive, but his regeneration, it's painfully slow. He bumps into some thugs, and a sharp tongue only makes things worse. Machina eventually finds him beaten and bruised. On the train, she apologizes for hesitating to tell him about Marcus's betrayal, and Veltol forgives her, saying that knowing wouldn't have changed anything. Machina takes him to her home, and Veltol's impressed, thinking she's managed to secure a large castle for them in this era, but as they entered, it becomes clear that he might be mistaken. She takes him to her tiny apartment, and he assumes the first room is a storeroom, but it's actually her entire living space, and so Veltol laughed against a joke, but Machina is completely serious. She explains that her job doesn't pay well, and Veltol realizes she's been living this way for centuries. He's moved and tells her that her loyalty is something he'll never forget. Machina is overwhelmed by his words, and she begins to sob in his arms. And with that, we have come to the end of this part. Stay tuned for next part. Don't forget to subscribe to the channel and activate the notification bell to receive all the latest updates.